This is Gorillas in the Mix. My boy Skitzo. This is Focus. I'm Steve. This is the Webisodes. Good afternoon. We're coming to you live from Tacoma. We have a few discussions today. I'd like to say thank you for making time to come out today, Skitzo. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve, for
Focus,
having me.
as always. I'm sorry. It's good to see you.
You too.
I think we planned this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
We have a few topics we'd like to talk about today with you, Skitzo. And I want to read you guys something real quick today. I looked something up. Let me tell you what gratuity when you look gratuity up, it's a noun. Obviously, in the English version, it says a tip is to a waiter, a taxi driver. You know, gratuity is, in the 15th century Latin, is gratuitous, pleasing, and thankful. Synonyms for gratuity is a tip is a gift, present, donation, reward, or handout. You can even have an app now that tells you how much to tip somebody.
What the gratuity
What the
should be.
gratuity is, what it should be, what you think. Let me read you guys something real quick from this tipping statistics that I pulled offline.
Okay.
It says for the tipping situation, if a waiter, I didn't know this. Tell me if you guys have ever heard this. If a server sucks, never go below 15%. Okay? It says if there is an 18% automatic gratuity added at your normal, and your normal would have tipped higher. Add in extra if you have a coupon tip. Be prepared to use the pre-coupon price, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, not necessary when you're in a restaurant takeout, not necessary, but if you order for 10 people and it's all carefully packaged, you have to tip. Did you know that? That's what it says.
Didn't really think about it.
Mm-hmm. Skitzo, tell us a little bit about what you do other than your music career. What
Yeah.
else? What do you else got going on?
Skitzo has a unique perspective on what we're talking about right now, so we'll let him explain what he does.
First off, I'm a server.
Okay.
All the things that you're talking about are true, you know, and I see them from all aspects. From the amount of people tipping on to-go orders, from the amount of people tipping as far as the party goes, as far as how many people are in the group. I've even seen mandatory gratuity placed on bills for parties of 6 or larger. You know?
Right.
Okay.
So does your organization, do they automatically put in a gratuity now into the price of the bill? Is it automatically included in that or do you guys?
Well, on our menu, it does state that there is an automatic 18% gratuity added to any party that is 6 or more.
Okay.
But what we like to do is we like to ask the server that served them whether or not we should include the gratuity or not.
Oh, okay. So you give them that at the end of their dinner when you're ready to give them their bill. You say, should we add the gratuity in for you, or would you like to do that yourself?
No, we ask the server that
Oh,
served them.
gotcha. Okay.
See,
Okay.
and the reason is because there's a couple things that you're looking at. If things are going well, and you know they're making you run a lot, and you're giving them the best service they can, and you're still not providing all the things they need, the server may feel, hey, you know what? A mandatory gratuity, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like they should be able to do this on their own because I know that the service I provided could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it all varies depending on the server. And our situation is currently a little bit different, you know, because in places they automatically will add it. And someone once told me that included gratuity ensures bad service.
Interesting.
Okay, and that's because the server knows they will automatically get a tip.
Right.
Regardless how they treat you, how they do their job.
Right. Basically.
It doesn't matter how lazy they get; they're still getting their
Good
tip.
point. Do you think that makes some servers more lazy? Probably.
I know it does.
Yeah.
I think
I
it
know
does,
it does.
in a lot of the cases.
Your drive, your
I don't wanna
motivation
say-
at that point is probably like.
Yeah, I don't want to say that happens every time
Sure.
because I happen to know a few servers that even if they already know that they're not getting a tip period because of the customers that are there,
Right.
they're still going to bust their ass because that's how their work ethic is.
Right.
And see,
So-
that's the thing. The thing is in a job where you're providing a service, as far as a restaurant job and things like that, you actually have to love what you do.
Right.
You have to enjoy serving people.
Right.
And I always tell people, and I always tell my other wait staff and things like that, if you just do your customer service, if you just actually tend to the people and do not worry about the financial aspect of it, it will all work out.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, but when people are worried about those tips
It
and
shows.
things like that, yes, it shows.
Does it get stressful for you sometimes when you feel like that the particular table or the group that you're serving, do you feel like it stresses you out sometimes if things are not going as well as planned, if something was wrong, if the meal had to be sent back, or any aspect of from start to finish? From even when you introduced yourself, you're like, take for example, like you introduce yourself and you get this cold feeling back, like, oh, well, there goes that. You know, have you already set yourself up to be like, well, this tip is not going to be what I expected it to be?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you ever, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You walk up and Aaron's sitting there and he's like, doesn't even make eye contact with you. Yeah, I'll take something to drink, blah, blah, blah.
I run into those all the time.
That must be,
All the time.
it's
But
so-
I'm going to tell you
That's
something.
not how I act.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Clarify.
whatever.
I tip very well. Thank you very much.
10%.
He just called you out.
No, but you know what? To be honest with you, there, it all goes back to the service. See, the thing is I'm at a different aspect because one, I have no idea what's going on in someone else's day, and
Before
I've
they walked
learned-
in the door.
Exactly, and I've learned that hey, look it, whatever it may be, my job is going to be to give you the best service, and by them just showing up, they're helping keeping me employed.
Right.
Yeah.
See, so my aspect from a tipped employee is totally different.
Right.
See, so, and I don't focus on the tips. Because the thing is if I can come in there and I can have you enjoy your time and I can serve you and I can be a servant, whatever you may ask for. A lot of times I try to prep things though in advance. You know, I try to get things to them before they need them.
Take them
You
the
know?
water. Take them whatever they need.
Yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, can I get some napkins? Right there in the middle for you.
Yeah.
You know? See, so the whole thing is as I'm doing these things, they don't have to ask for these things.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole thing is I'm focused on serving them and I'm not focused
Right.
on the money. And then what happens is financially, it all works out that
Yeah.
way. You know, but there are some people that it's funny because a customer will use the gratuity
As how, I see where we're
as
going.
a basis of
as how this is going to go for you.
exactly, you know. And some people even they try to insult you by giving you, let's say, $1 on a $30 tip,
What
on a
does that-
$30 bill.
Explain to me what that means. $1 on a $30 tip. What did you? Because if you know that everything went right, why am I getting $1? Where did I miss out? What did I miss?
That's like what he was trying to say. That it's a way of them insulting you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It may have just been that they didn't like your accent, or
Whatever it may be. But what they don't understand is for me, that's $1 I didn't have before they came in.
exactly.
story.
See, so I look at it a
Exactly.
whole different way. For me, because I've been in service for so long. I mean, I started out in sales in general. And instead of doing high pressure sales as far as selling cars, houses, cell phones, and things like that anymore, all of those are still based on customer service. So now that I moved into a restaurant industry, it's still based on customer service.
Yeah.
You know, it's still based on that. And, you know, like I said, it's just financially, if you provide that service that that you would expect as a
Exactly.
customer,
Right.
you know. And the thing is sometimes a restaurant may be so busy that they can't provide the necessary service. But if a customer sees them running around and sees them actually busting their butt to still try to provide that, 95% of the time they will actually tip above and beyond what they're supposed
exactly.
to, because they see they're working hard and they're still dedicated and they're doing the best they can.
That's exactly how I feel as the customer. If you're doing A, B, and C that you're supposed to be doing adequately, from me, you're going to get the adequate tip that society says is norm for whatever the check is. But if I see that even just the one little extra step above and beyond, I'm going to go above and beyond for you, because I appreciate that.
Let me read you guys something. In 1938, the Fair Labor Act established a federal minimum wage to serve, and I quote, a floor below wages, unquote, right? And it says to reduce poverty and to ensure that economic growth is shared across the workforce. And that's according to www.aflcio.org.
Okay.
Let's talk about minimum wage now, guys. Let's really get kind of into that. And I read you some statistics a little earlier there about the about when it's how much it's and how much it's not increased since
yeah, that was a little crazy.
Yeah. Do you think, tied in with this whole with the tipping and everything, well, how does the minimum wage affect you, Skitzo? What do you feel? How do you think this is all going? I mean, with this minimum wage, we've got the Seattle deal where they've increased it now to that's $15 an hour.
$15 an hour.
Does this help you or does this hurt you?
That's a tough one, and because I can see it from both sides of the aspect, as far as managing a restaurant and as far as an employee goes. From an employee perspective, increased wages is always good. Not everybody appreciates it as much as some others. But
not everybody deserves it as much as others either.
And that's the truth of the matter as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of minimum wage positions that, at least in my opinion, and this may piss a bunch of people off, don't deserve $15 an hour. There's a lot of minimum wage positions that I think deserve way more than $15 an hour because of the level of effort and actual work that is going in. But there's a lot of these people that are out there picketing and doing this whole movement towards bumping it up to $15 an hour that don't really go to work and work. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Right.
But somehow, I could go on and on about this whole sense of entitlement that this generation has become to have. But I think that's a lot of it. It doesn't matter to a lot of this generation whether or not they've earned it. They still think they're going to deserve it.
And I understand that too.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that quote unquote entitlement. But the thing is the minimum wage, whether it's increased or not, it probably will not affect the work ethic of employees. Whether if you're an employee that does not work and does not put initiative into the job, if you get a raise,
you're still going to be that way.
You're going to still be that way.
Right.
And I think that working hard as far as having a lower minimum wage is not necessarily better for the whole society, and raising the minimum wage is not necessarily better for the whole society. And the reason I say that is because, there's people that can't manage money.
Right.
Okay? And no matter how much money you give them, they're still not going to be able to manage that money. So your goal here to increase the minimum wage is to give them a livable wage so that they can, quote unquote, live on.
Right.
But the thing is if they can't manage the money, no matter how much you give them, it's not going to work.
Right.
So what you should do, in my opinion, just dealing with that, is you need to focus also on a little bit of re-education.
Right.
Some of the high school classes that you need to take is a little bit more financial management.
Yes.
Right. So this way, when these young kids come out, these young adults, they can understand how to manage this $10 now.
Yeah.
Right.
Teach them how to balance a checkbook at least. Damn.
Exactly. And the thing is if a person is willing to work hard, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll work hard in other areas. So if they want an increase in wage, they'll put themselves and they'll dedicate themselves to take time to get themselves enrolled into school, into some of these other educational programs where they know that the wages are a lot higher. But that whole sense of entitlement is where it lacks, where it hinders. the people.
Do you think, and this is going back to the discussion that we had about the gratuity, and this is kind of where what I've kind of heard over discussions, do you think that people will start to personally feel once they walk into a restaurant, knowing, let's say that it goes, that not only Seattle but everybody all over the metropolitan area gets this $15 an hour wage eventually. Let's say it all goes into effect. Will that affect people tipping what we talked about earlier? Because now you're making $15 an hour, Skitzo. Do I really need to tip you 10 or 15% at that point or not?
There's
right? I mean, I think that's the future of the gratuity is kind of tied into that.
I haven't experienced this here in Washington State, but this is a perfect example to go right along with what you're talking about. When I lived in Virginia, when I was active duty in the Army, the minimum wage only for waitresses and server staff was $2.25 because they got tips. Any other job in the entire state, at least, I mean, this was 12, 14 years ago. I'm sure it's changed now. At that time, any other job in the state, if it was not a tip-worthy job, the minimum wage was $8, whatever it was, for everybody else, except waitressing staff and servers.
Right.
So I
how did
couldn't believe that.
How did they make that work? Apparently they did.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that goes with your being educated, right? Skitzo, you said if people are educated to the point where they just get it and they know. Is that what happened there?
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is because everybody knew that this waiter or waitress that was serving them, their actual paycheck was next to nothing.
Right.
And you knew that going in. So whether it's out of the kindness of your heart or whatever, you kind of felt obligated
to tip more
to cover for that lack in wages.
God, it seems like we've kind of lost.
Yeah. Now
we've lost true to what we should do as just as human nature. Maybe like instead of being kind,
am I my brother's keeper?
Yeah. Right.
We've lost that a long time ago.
Man.
But I think if like overnight that minimum wage for wait staff was bumped up to be equal to everybody else's minimum wage, I think also overnight that feeling of obligation to help them would disappear as well.
Good point.
I mean, there would be a certain portion of the population that would still feel that way.
Sure.
Just because that's how they're built. That's how their brain works. They did us a service. We're going to give them a little extra because they did a little extra.
Right.
But there's also a large portion of the population that if they can find a way to get over, they're going to. So if they can find an excuse to not have to tip so much, they're not going to.
And
you catch what I'm saying?
That's true.
No, it's a good point.
And the thing is it goes back to the whole definition, gratuity. The thing is gratuity is based on a thanks.
Right. Like I said to you, it means
providing the service.
It means pleasing and thankful, and it's a donation, a reward. You know, I mean, there were certain key words there that's been used from the beginning.
Right.
So thank you.
So the whole thing is now you're looking at a whole point of legislation. Because the whole thing is if they can allow a waitress or a waiter or a server to be below a minimum wage, they're automatically telling you that you need to tip, and it's no longer becoming thank you.
There you go.
You know,
that's it.
And in my opinion, gratuity should be based on thanks. You know,
but in a situation like that, the gratuity becomes part of the salary.
Correct.
It's not something that you're earning above and beyond for that thank you.
Okay.
Correct.
Was minimum wage made to be livable on? Was it made?
I think at one point it may have been, but the cost of living has outgrown
the necessity for
the raises in minimum wage. So I'm not sure that minimum wage will ever really catch up to the cost of living increases.
And that's sad.
at this point,
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
No, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, if you look at the income ratio growth of minimum wage versus the
I mean, I read it to you.
livable
It was like
expense,
Yeah.
it was
it's
insane.
completely
I mean,
going up. I mean,
prime
how much is a
example-
gallon of milk?
Yeah.
We've gone from $1.15 in how many years to only $9?
Yeah. Prime example of the whole, and this is kind of skewing off a little bit, but the whole cost of living thing.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no reason why a specialist, a sergeant in the military should have to draw welfare.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that need to,
Mm-hmm.
because the cost of living is so high that what they're getting paid won't cover their household expenses. That should
never happen.
that should never happen.
I mean, the whole thing is we're here because of
Especially working
People that have
in
fought
a
for
government
these rights,
position
right.
like that, serving your country, you know,
Mm-hmm.
one of the most thankless jobs in the world, in my opinion. You should never be put in a position where you can't afford your household expenses
Right.
just using your paycheck.
Well, and you've got people out there in the food service industry that are working 3-4 jobs just
Yeah.
to provide, to put that minimal amount of food on the table, to pay this electric bill this month and skip
Yeah.
the electric bill
Rob-
just a little bit
Rob
longer.
from Peter to pay
pay
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Do you foresee in the future, you guys, to tie this kind of up? Where do you see this going? Do you see anything good coming out of having a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour? Do you think it's a positive move, or is it just going to cause less unemployment? Or I'm sorry, it'll cause more unemployment for the higher wage. Getting rid of jobs.
Because
to-
just like the
Right.
the picture that I sent you earlier.
Right. You can.
McDonald's had the perfect comeback to the demanding $15 minimum wage. All of a sudden, the next thing you know, the entire counter is filled with kiosks and there's no personnel up there taking orders. Demand what?
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
definitely figured
Yeah.
out a way around
They called
that
your bluff.
situation there.
They
You
called
know.
your bluff, and guess who won?
Will there always be a need for food industry service people in restaurants?
You know what? There will be.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because people like people.
Yeah, I think sit-down restaurants, family dining, I think that's the proper term.
Mhm.
Family dining, where you go in with the whole family and sit down at a booth with a menu, and you have a server come to the table. I don't think that will ever go away. Fast food, on the other hand, I think may wind up coming to a point where you push a button, get your food, and be on your way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're probably not tipped as well either. But I would like to say just a couple more things, just real quick, just to kind of summarize this whole thing up. The increase in minimum wage, I think we should still base ourselves on educating versus increasing the minimum wage
Okay.
so that people can manage their money. Now, as far as the reason for the push of minimum wage increase, it can be multiple things. I'm all for people making money.
Sure.
But also remember that there'll be more taxes drawn, which means that legislative government, they make more money.
Oh, absolutely.
So you see,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
the increase for minimum wage as a whole is good.
But whose money is going into what pocket?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the thing is the basic necessities of life, as far as like milk, bread,
Will just go
things
higher.
like that, yes, they'll end up going up. Those are the things that'll increase, and those are the things that make it hard for people to actually maintain a livable wage, no matter what the cost is.
Yeah,
Seems
you-
like-
you're going to feel like you're getting ahead a little bit because you're getting this boost in income. But if you really sit back and take a look at it, it's barely even a push because of the cost of living. Groceries are going up, gas prices going up. You're not getting an increase really. It's a push, and in some cases, you're even falling further behind.
Right.
Yes, no, totally right.
We are Gorillas in the Mix. My boy Skitzo, thank you for showing up today. Focus,
Thank you for
as
having me.
always. I love
Yes.
sitting beside you. Thanks for showering today.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that. Thanks a lot. We'll be back.